went to Paul Lawrence Dunbar High School in
Mm,
Dayton, Ohio. Home of the most athletic people you will ever want to meet. We
all
got a
all
lot
right.
of a lot of basketball players, a lot of football players that everybody grew and known to love. Keith Byers, you got the Nashawn Goddard, you got the Daquan Cooks, and the Norris Cole. Those both are definitely NBA
Mhm.
championship playoff winners. And it being in that high school, it was very, very intimidating because it was intimidating, but it was definitely humbling because it made me realize how much I peaked before
Mm.
before um before playing football there, because I was everybody was taller than me. I was probably like 5'6", 5'7". Everybody
Wow.
is like
Yeah, yeah.
6'3". It was a football basketball powerhouse school. And I definitely got overlooked, and I took that and just was like, you know what, I'm just gonna focus on my art, because I learned how to draw at a young age, and it stemmed from my uncle who
Mm.
also graduated at that high school, and he was a notable painter, and he would go back and forth to New York with his paintings, and do um, he would have bookings where he was showcases stuff, and they would buy it, and they used to buy top dollar. And what he did to give back to the school is that he would do these oil paintings of all the principals who retired.
Oh,
So
wow.
every principal that you saw that was there, he painted it,
Oh,
and
wow.
he put his name all over it. So it's all over the high school. So I even at a younger age, I really thought that my uncle was famous. I really did, because anytime that he came home, every everybody would come over to my grandma's house, and just you know they all wanted a piece of him. They always wanted to take him out to eat. They always wanted to take him to the mall. And he was my fave.
Mhm,
He
mhm.
definitely I definitely wanted to be like him. I wanted to be like, you know what, I'm gonna come home and just be celebrated every time I come home, and
Oh,
I love that for him. And
yes.
until this day, even now, he's more proud than me, for taking on not only painting and art, but even stepping it up into acting.
Yeah,
So,
wonderful. Yeah,
but
so
yeah, but high school, it was I definitely uh shrunk myself of my
mm,
greatness, because I felt like I was being overshadowed with sports, you know, and I
mm,
felt, but I stayed in my art. And I remember I remember at times where um there was times where I could just, be myself, and we did it through, because we didn't have a theater program or a drama club or anything like that. But we did have this one class where, anytime that we went, we could just
free
improv,
speak.
do stuff, and
Mhm, mhm, mhm.
and I always thought of myself as a comic relief, but like, or a class clown, but like, there's so many people in my high school that took class clown to a whole level, like just jawing on people, and yo mama jokes, like them
Yes,
yo
yes,
mama jokes was terrifying. But
yes.
I would probably say high school was the time where I really, really shrunk myself,
Mm.
and just stayed to myself, and beginning to be shy. And that's where my shyness came from, and that's where I just sat in the back, and I just drew. I
Why
just
did you
drew.
feel
And
the need to shrink yourself, Fred? I want to get more into that, as I also want to get into, but why did you feel the
yeah,
need to shrink yourself and suppress whatever it was, and also like did you start to develop the interest, like, in dating? Did you work part-time? But we get into,
Mhm.
get into that part, but go back to that part when you was talking about shrinking yourself.
I shrunk myself because I just saw a lot of people, you know, saying what I was saying and doing what I was doing, but they were being heard more than me.
Mm,
So, and that's where, and then along those lines, even growing up, that it took a toll in the household as well, to where, like, me being the youngest in the family, to, oh, you can't do what I'm doing because I'm grown, and this and this and that. And even no matter what, the outcome was, I still didn't get my point across. You know how, especially growing up in my life, it was very, very complicated, because for a long time I thought my sister was my mom, because that's
mm.
all I saw.
Right,
So
right.
so a lot of people would hear my sister talk to me, and talk down to me, as if that she was my mom, and they were like, "Dude, why are you letting your sister talk to you like that?" And I'm like, "Well, she's a grown up." And she was like, "Dog, she ain't that grown. That's your sister. Your mom is your mom." And I was just like, "Well, she's not here, so she's
Right,
doing
she's the
this." And,
right.
like, my friends would be so confused, like, and then I would go to their house and I'd be like, "Dude, that's your sister. Why are you talking to her like that?" He was like, "Man, she ain't my mama. Forget her." So it was very, very confusing, growing up. But that's where I started to, like, shrink myself and be small, because, you know I would that's just I was just told to just shut up. And
Mm,
me being a Capricorn, and me being, very, very, disciplined at that age, I just that's exactly what I did. you know so there was a lot of times where I was quiet, and, I wasn't the most popular, but people knew who I was. But I wasn't the most popular. But, going into my senior year, a lot of things changed, especially with girls. And,
right.
I hung around with this guy who was like 10 years older than me, who would go to New York, and he would go to New York and come back with clothes, like, and back then.
Sound like the garment district. Okay, they probably was in
Yes.
garment district. Yeah.
Broadway,
Yeah.
you know, Canal Street.
Yep.
He would come back with so much clothes, and he would sell them. And I'm like, "Man, how'd you, like,
Yeah.
like, put me on?" And he was like, "I got you." And he took me to New York, changed my whole ex. Like, I came back with a different hairdo. Like senior year, people was like, "Who is that?" Because, like, because, like, back then, you either rock polo, heel figure,
Mm-hmm.
or, and
LA
then,
Pele,
like, Pele
Fubu.
Pele, like, Fubu. But then what came around that time was Iceberg. Everybody
Yes.
knew
Yes.
Iceberg, or,
Mm-hmm.
Fendi, Gucci, you know, and I had access to all of it. And I remember when I first got back. I remember the first, when we got back to school, around Christmas. I had, like, this whole, iceberg outfit. I even had a chain, and, like, LL Cool J was my guy back then.
Okay.
LL Cool
Okay.
J.
I
Everybody
see where you're
wanted to
going
be.
with that. Yeah. Okay.
Everybody wanted to be like LL Cool. Everybody wanted. I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to be like him. I didn't have a body, but I sure was, like,
You had the swag.
I had the swag, and the chain, the boots, and, like, I even changed my hair, and my hair was like, it was permed out. And the way that my homeboy did it is that it was permed out, and I had these big curls, these big locks, and it was nice. It was nice.
It wasn't
It really was. It wasn't that bad.
pearls.
It wasn't that bad, but it was very, very smooth. The way he cut my hair and the way he put it in, man, I was lined up. I was. You couldn't tell me nothing.
Oh my
But
god, I
but then I
cannot.
had I had one of my friend I had one of my friends. His name is Nashon. Big ups to him. He he gave me my props, but I would walk down the hall and all you heard was follow the drip, follow the drip, follow the drip.
Got the drip.
Because it was very very curly. But like the some of the ladies loved it, and some of them was like,
Yeah, I do.
little too much.
Yeah,
But it
yeah.
was, yeah, it was nice. It wasn't the hanging. You know what I'm saying? I had a nice little fade. You know what I'm saying? It was curled. You know, I just looked like
Yeah,
I was
you still,
Mexican.
yeah, you
Yeah.
was, yeah, you was not playing about that. Okay. He's like, yeah, it was
I,
still,
it was,
it was still
yeah.
doable. It was still doable.
Right, but it changed my whole identity, and I got a lot of lot of recognition, especially when it came to girls started like to be like, oh, he cute, and I was like, oh snap. So
Okay,
so yeah,
okay.
but
So
yeah,
apparently, whatever you had going on, it worked.
it did. It worked
Yeah.
in my it worked somehow. It worked somehow. I got some attention, but high school was I don't know my intellect or what, but high school wasn't my thing. At that point I was selling clothes, I was selling shoes and glasses and everything like that in class. Where I like you know my GPA went completely down. I really didn't even care.
Yeah, because you was busy being smooth.
So, and it showed. I remember going into my counselor's office, and she was because like we was turning in our the colleges that we wanted to go to, and I picked three schools. I picked a college in Chicago. I picked Central State, which is an HBCU, and University of Cincinnati, and it and like my counselor shut me down. She looked at my stuff and she was like, "You ain't going to
Yeah.
college," and
Mm.
I was like, "Oh," and my sister instilled embedded college into my brain because she knew I wanted to play football. She
Mm-hmm.
knew I wanted to do things and be better. And but like it was every day. You're going to college. You're going to college. You're going to college. And when that lady told me that I wasn't going, it sparked something in me, and I was like, I will. I'm going to college. You know what I'm saying? No matter I don't care. It may not be these, but I'm going to college. And um, the crazy thing about that is that you know, have you ever heard anybody going to college without graduating high school? Never heard of it, right?
No, like you skipped a
I
grade, or like you skipped,
I didn't skip. I didn't skip. It's just how it
like a,
happened
so you,
is
because I know
that
some people who had do you do college courses while
mhm,
in high
right.
school. Yeah.
I didn't do any college courses. I didn't do anything. But the college the art school that I wanted to go to was in Chicago, and um and back then we had the Ohio State proficiency test, and you had to take that and pass every genre in order to graduate. Now, I had all my credits and everything to graduate, but I was missing a lot of the proficiency. I think it was science and math, and I had to take it all the way up until I graduate, and I didn't pass it. But I got accepted to the school in Chicago, and I told my counselor, I said I didn't pass, but is there something that we could work out to where if I do go to school, I can still go and finish up and take the test because I have my credits. And he's like, yeah, I know you got your credits. It's just that you know, and I actually got accepted, and I got into school. And when I
Mm.
got to school, I would say I was in Chicago for a year because I did 2 semesters, and I promise you, it was like night and day because of course it was art and it was something that I was very very into. I I ended up getting I got a 3.0 GPA in college
Mm.
versus a
Mm.
1.7 in high school. It goes to
Right.
show that you know
Right.
where your
It used to
mindset
take over.
was.
You're right, because and that, and
And
what I wonder, how did you go back to that counselor that said you wasn't going to college? That she just wrote you off?
actually, I didn't do that yet. we'll get, and I'm gonna get you there. But I got to school and I got a 3.0 GPA in Chicago, and I remember I got reported to the office, and when I went to the office, and the lady said, "Hey, we're missing the your graduating date on your transcripts. We need those for you to continue school." And I was like, "Well, my counselor, if you talk to my counselor, we have an agreement to do this, this, and that." And don't you know, I could not find him anywhere.
What?
I could not find him anywhere. I searched because she gave me a deadline that she was like, you got a week to talk to the counselor
Wow.
and
Oh,
get your transcripts. Unless if you don't, we're gonna have to discharge you. And I was like, okay.
mm,
And I looked for that guy all week. Come to find out, he got fired. So everything that I did from my artwork, I learned how to sew because my
wow.
major
Okay.
was yeah, my major was fashion design. So I was learning how to sew. I was learning all types of genres of art, drawing in chalk, pen and ink, everything.
Right.
And my uncle was proud. My uncle was proud because I would send him my work.
Right.
And since I couldn't find him, I got sent home. And
Oh no. That
you
is
talk about a
horrible.
oh yeah, you talk about a depressed moment.
Oh my gosh.
I sat in my room for a whole week pissed. And just to let you know, like I told you how much I love TV, this is like a insult to injury. Every movie that I would turn on or just change the channel to was a movie in Chicago.
Wow.
Like Save the Last Dance. I hated that
Mhm.
movie just because it was in Chicago.
Because
I
of that,
hated it.
right? Yeah, it
Just
was
be
triggering.
just
Yeah.
just because of it. Because like every shot that I saw, I knew exactly where it was at. I knew it was like, and
Mm.
I knew where I was at that moment. Like I was there before. I was there. I was on that train. But I got so discouraged and so disappointed that I didn't want to do anything. And to add more insult, I got a call from my high school, and they were saying, "Hey, due to you not passing the proficiency, you have to redo your senior year." And I was like, "What?" She's like, "Yeah, you have to
Wow.
redo your senior year and study for the proficiency." And you talking about me crying? I'm what 18. I'm actually what 18 at the time. I cried because I had to go back to school. People that I didn't want to face no more, the
Right.
undergrads. And I was just like, this is crazy. And my sister, because like my mom was like, just get your GED. You ain't got to go back to school, get your GED. And I was like, nah. And then my sister was like, look, sometimes you got to do what you don't want to do to get to where you want to go. You
Mhm.
said you want to go to college. You said you want to do this, and you said you want to do that. What are you going to do? Are you going to because you can't even get certified because so you don't have your
The
high school
diploma.
diploma.
Yeah,
So
that's
you're gonna have to do it.
mm,
So I signed back in to go to high school, and I hated every minute of it.
I could
And
imagine.
then and the thing is that I wasn't the only one. I had like three other people that was forced to go back to high school, and I remember one of the ladies' mothers started to go to the board to boycott that and just study for the proficiency, which actually happened. And my last day of it getting approved for us to that we could go home and just study for the proficiency, 9/11 hit.
Mm.
And um and then after that, a lot of stuff changed. And I didn't and this is how long it took. That was 2000. That was 2002, 2001, 2002. I graduated in 2001. Got to college in 2002, and it didn't take. It took two. It took from 2003 to actually get my diploma. I finally passed it, and
Ooh.
I remember that day walking in to my high school. My principal, Mr. Love. Mr. Love was an awesome guy. Loved that guy. And I remember walking in, and he was like, "Hey, you did it, and I'm very very proud of you." He took me into this closet and he went to it. He got the little folder, and I was like, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. And then he opened his closet, and it was a stack of diplomas, and I was just like, wow. Started like shuffling through them like it was cards, and he
Mhm.
found my name. He put it in there. And he was like, "This is a lot of dedication. And you should be very, very proud of yourself, and I'm proud of you." And I say for a week, I slept with that diploma.
Yeah, because 'cause you've been through
Or
some stuff. I mean, you had
I,
some
I,
it was you had some
it was up and
wow.
down, and that in a nutshell has been my life.